Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
It is a Listener Stories episode.
Woo, 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 woo.
So you want to just get started? You got anything to say?
Not really. Crazy that we're past 100. I don't even know how to comprehend that. And thank you so much for everyone that's been so nice to us on the post for the 100th. It literally has just been nonstop because we're filming today on Thursday. It's just been nuts. And I'm feeling the love. Kindness. Like, I'm a very rage-filled person.
Yes.
And the comments and people like saying nice things really mellows me out.
Yeah, I agree.
What is our tea?
Our tea is Blackberry Sage from the Republic of Tea.
Yep. So let's go.
It's good. It's so refreshing. And I feel like it's a really good tea for the spring.
I was just going to say that. It makes me want to like have a little picnic.
Ooh. Okay. So sidetrack real quick. We are having a picnic at my house.
We are.
I'm going to send out like cute little invitations.
I'm excited.
It's literally just me, Kayla, Natalie, and my mom. We're having
our mom. We are sisters, by the way.
Oh yeah, sorry, our mom.
Because people will come and be like, "Are y'all best friends? Are y'all friends?" And it's like,
no,
we are siblings.
We were forced to be friends.
Yes,
from birth.
Yes,
so we are friends. Because we're sisters.
But yeah, we are having a little book club, and Kayla hosted last time, and we had tacos and margaritas. Well, non-alcoholic margaritas. And then you're hosting this time where I'm
planning a picnic. So we're going to have all the cute little, I went to the store, several stores, and got a bunch of like flowery plates and like a whole picnic blanket. And I got this giant picnic basket and some serving platters that have flowers and stuff on them. And
I'm very excited.
Going all out.
It's our little book club.
Yeah. Anyway, that was totally irrelevant to today. Today we're talking about listener stories. And our first one comes from Anna. Her subject line was The Stalker.
Oh no.
Hi girlies, I just discovered the podcast. I love it. I have a story about a haunting. The story I'm about to tell you began in May and ended in August. I will begin with some context for you if you don't mind. I was living in a 2-bedroom and 1-bathroom apartment. This apartment was located 1 block away from my job, so I walked to work every day. During this time, one of my best friends was getting married and I was one of her bridesmaids. We will call her Taylor. She also happens to be my manager at my job. One night in May, I had a vivid dream. The dream began with me laying on my bed in the dark, when all of a sudden, I see light coming from under my bedroom door. I rose from bed and opened the door. The light was coming from my kitchen. I began to walk into my kitchen, and at the doorway, I stopped because I saw a man in fine clothing leaning against my stove. He was gorgeous. He didn't say anything. However, with his hand in his pocket, he leaned up against the kitchen stove in a posture that said, "Admire me." Then I woke up.
What? I forgot this was a dream. I'm sorry. I was like so terrified. Okay.
Yeah, no. This is all dream. Now, after this initial dream, I began to have the same dream every night. The only difference was that I began to walk closer to this man. The closer I got to him in my dream, the stranger my real life got. For example, I began to sleepwalk. While asleep, I would walk to my kitchen and take everything out of my pantry and seasonings drawer. Then stack all the items on my countertop. I would stack the items from smallest to biggest. In the mornings, I would wake up and there would be towers of items stacked on my countertops. That's creepy in its own.
I agree.
I began to tell my friend Taylor of my dreams and sleepwalking. She wanted to distract me, so she gave me bridesmaids duties to keep me busy. However, the dreams continued. On a later night, I had a sleepwalking episode where I tried to go out my front door. My then partner woke up to use the restroom and saw my head was facing the front door. My hand motion could not figure out how to cup the doorknob. He did not wake me up, but slowly led me back to bed. One night in late June, in my dream, I had finally come face to face with the man in my kitchen. He had stayed in the same position and made me come towards him. As I saw his features, they began to distort. He developed a creepy smile that showed all of his sharp teeth. His cheeks became more pronounced and his skin color was gray. I woke up in a panic and began to cry because I felt like I was being tortured. A couple of nights after my dream, I attended my friend Taylor's and her partner's engagement dinner. This dinner was held on a ranch that the groom's parents own. There was a bonfire, drinks, and music. There, I met the groom's mom, which we will call Debbie. She shook my hand, smiled at me, and then looked behind me, almost as if there was someone standing behind me. I turned around. There was no one there. As the night progresses, we meet again at the bonfire. As I'm standing there, she says, "There's a man following you."
Oh my God.
I looked behind me and no one was standing there. I reply, "Oh, I didn't bring anyone to the party." She replies, "No, it's not someone you know." I said, "Okay, should I be worried?" She says, "Yes, you see him in your dreams." My heart stopped and I held my breath. I replied, "Did Taylor tell you about my dreams?" She replied, "No, I can see people who have passed. You are being haunted."
Oh my God.
As a shiver went down my spine, she whispers, He just touched you. He saw you walking to work and attached itself to your bright energy. He is a parasite. I began to sob because I knew he was a parasite. She told me that he keeps me up at night and uses me to go to the kitchen. Then she says, you know what he looks like. He showed himself to you. That is his true form. You need to get rid of him. He is sucking you dry. As I sobbed, I asked, why is he doing this? She replies, he said he's just having fun. Parasites will torture you and deplete you of all your energy. Come with me. Debbie led me into a room with tarot cards, a table, a witch book, and trinkets. She sat me down and asked if she could do a cleanse. I replied, yes. She began to light candles, burn wood, and chant. After it was done, I instantly felt lighter and happier. I thanked her, and we continued the night together. After the cleanse, my days got so much better and I felt like myself again. Until one night in July, I had a dream that I was laying on my living room couch and I suddenly saw the kitchen light turn on. In my dream, I knew exactly who it was. It was him. He had come back. I decided to ignore it and lay on my stomach, when all of a sudden, I feel his cold hand get both of my arms and hold me down. He had a sinister laugh. I woke up from the nightmare and I could still feel his hands on my flesh. The following day, I went to work and I told Taylor about what happened. She immediately picked up the phone and called Debbie. When I spoke with Debbie, she told me I needed to cleanse my home. She gave me strict instructions and a supply list. After work, I went through each room and I began to cleanse my home. I left the kitchen for the end because it was the room I feared most. After I cleansed my bedrooms, bathroom, and living area, I stepped into the kitchen. The energy felt tense. It felt like I was stepping into a dangerous stranger's space. I felt very threatened. I began to walk towards the stove and the kitchen light turned off. I turned around to turn it back on, and as I did, I heard a click, the kind that electric stove knobs make when they are being turned on. I looked at the stove and all my burners were switched to high. I began to shake because I was so afraid. Then I felt a sense of protection. I felt like I had spirits next to me that were there to give me the courage I needed. I cleansed the kitchen with no other events. I have moved out of that apartment and now own my home. However, this story will haunt me for the rest of my life. Thank you for reading it. Wishing you two great success. Kindest regards, Anna.
That is insane. Thank God for Debbie.
I know how serendipitous to come across Debbie at night and she's just like, hey, someone's following you. I know.
Dude, what would you do if a random person was like, hey, but you're going to a wedding this weekend, right?
Yeah.
What would you do if the bride's mom came up and said, hey, there's something attached to you?
Be like, help me. Help me.
Part of me would, if I didn't have the prior dreams and everything like that, if they just randomly said that to me, part of me would be like, what are you trying to do to me?
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust them. But then if I was having these dreams, then I'd be like, anything, please.
Yeah. Take me wherever you need to take me to cleanse me to get rid of this.
That is so insane.
I know.
That's such a good story though.
It was really good. It was so scary. It will never not surprise me and not, I don't know, just give me all the vibes, all the feelings to she was having these dreams. She knew something was up. She couldn't prove it, but she knew. And to be confirmed by an outside third party, someone who doesn't even know her.
It would just make it so much more real.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can't ignore it or write it off.
Real. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Ugh, I'm glad you're not dealing with that anymore.
Me too.
Our next story comes from Kobie. Hi, Ghosties. I'm a new subscriber, but I adore your podcast and felt compelled to share my story with y'all. I've never written into anything, so I apologize if I get rambly. No apology needed. Feel free to share this on the pod, but no worries if it gets cut because it'll probably be too long. No such thing. My name is Kobie, and I'm a pagan witch. I didn't grow up pagan, but have been actively practicing for a good 6 to 7 years. I've always been highly energy sensitive and empathic, and have a strong connection to animals. When I was little, I would have so many imaginary animal friends that I am now convinced were spirits, since I would play with them in my room and sometimes my toys would move on their own. That's kind of cute.
That is cute.
But my childhood is a different story. Now, some 15 years later, I'm working on and studying more of my psychic and divination abilities, specifically tarot reading and other card decks and palm reading. I moved out of my childhood home to a small second-floor apartment by myself, and there was definitely some entity that lived there. I would constantly see shadows moving out of the corner of my eye, my lights would flicker often, and a few times my drink bottles would get flung off the table with nobody around. On a couple occasions, I'd also hear tapping on my bedroom window in my second-story apartment with no trees nearby.
I'm too scarred. I can't think about second-story window things happening.
No.
It's happened too many times on this pod. 2 or 3 times, but 2 or 3 times too many.
I had done my own cleansing and protection spells, but that would only keep it away for so long. 3 months after moving in, I went to a tattoo convention with one of my best friends. Yes, I did get a tattoo while we were there. While wandering around the convention space, there was a vendor there that sold some crystals and other magical supplies, and I noticed a canine-looking skull amongst her things. I asked about it and if I could pick it up. She agrees and gingerly hands it to me. Up close, it was stunning. There were some runes carved into the bone on each side, and a blue lapis lazuli stone, I think I'm saying that right, embedded into its forehead. I was immediately in love. The lady tells me that it is, in fact, a dog's skull, and that its owner was a witch and the dog was her familiar. She had carved the runes herself, and the skull was stuffed with dry herbs and blessed with holy water. I asked if it was even for sale, and she says yes, that he's been looking for a home for a long time. I knew he had to come home with me, that this would somehow answer the problem of whatever was haunting me back home. After I bought the skull and we got into the car, I almost immediately felt more calm and felt as if this dog crawled into my lap and situated himself. I didn't know his name, but started calling him Lappy because of the lapis lazuli stone in his forehead. I cleared a spot above my TV and placed him on the shelf after I showed him around the apartment. I sat on the floor in front of it, lit a few candles, closed my eyes, and asked Lappy to protect me and our space. I felt fur brush across my face as if Lappy was agreeing to his new job, and again felt a weight settle in my lap as if he laid down. He's just like making himself at home.
This is gonna make me cry.
That night, I heard a lot of noises outside my bedroom that sounded like plates and utensils being knocked around, and one of the kitchen chairs moved, but I didn't dare go out into the living room. As soon as I woke up the next morning, everything felt lighter and brighter, and I knew that Lappy had fought off whatever entity was there. When my lease was up, I moved to a different, bigger apartment with my partner, and we had added a cat to our little family a few months earlier. Cheshire? Do you say Cheshire cat or Cheshire cat?
Like in Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah.
I want to say I say Cheshire.
Okay.
But now it sounds weird saying it out loud. I'm sure people in the comments will let us know.
Let us know how you say it. Cheshire has been a wonderful familiar to me in my practice and has definitely helped Lappy in his mission to protect us from whatever negative spirits and energy is out there. Sometimes, as I'm walking up to our door, I can see Cheshire standing in the glass patio door with the faint image of a dog standing next to her. And I know my Lappy is waiting for me too. Thank you for reading about my little spirit guardian. If you're interested in more of my stories, I will most definitely write again as I remember things. Love you guys and your podcast. Blessed be, Kobie. Yes, we'd love to hear more. And that is really cute.
That should have been put on our, good feeling
Lighthearted
episode. Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, that's a good one.
Lappy.
Lappy's just there protected. I love the thought of like a little guard dog in the afterlife, like a little ghostly guard dog.
Me too, but I can't think about dogs passing away too much because I will spiral and then we will have to stop recording.
If Cleo, because she's a really old dog, but when she passes, I think she'll stay around, but I don't think she'll be there to guard. I think she'll be there to cause
rest.
Mischief and just hang out,
eat stuff off the counter.
Yeah.
She probably knocks. If
knock
anything
plates
gets
over off the table.
Yes, if anything gets knocked off the counters, it would just be Cleo.
So real quick backstory on Cleo. She is like part wolf.
She's huge.
She's very large. She's husky and wolf, and she is wild. Like within her soul is a wild animal, and she is so smart. Like she'll be the best dog as when you're looking at her. As soon as you walk away, she's getting into everything and getting what she wants, no matter the cost.
And it's always food or anything that she can chew on, eat. But she's a good girl.
She's so cute. Anyway.
I'm sad now. I'm emotional.
Kobie also sent us pictures of her cat.
Show me. That sounded so threatening. Please show me the photos.
Show me.
Oh, that's a cute cat.
I love it. It's so cute.
That's a cute cat.
The pretty color too.
I love it.
So moving on, our next story comes from Autumn. Hi guys, my name is Autumn. A few years ago during the pandemic, I began working at a nursing home / assisted living facility. I was a server and worked there for a few years. One morning, I arrived to work and walked into the dining room. Every day, I was the first person to arrive and set up. None of the lights were on, except a low light in the kitchen. I placed my bag down and felt someone watching me, but I shook it off, especially because my horror movie, true crime loving self tends to be paranoid.
Same.
Me too. After leaving the storage room and heading to the dining room, I heard music playing. The kind that would play at a 1940s party. I assumed it was the janitor at first, or a nurse trying to entertain themselves. However, I walked around and was the only one there. I entered a separate room attached to the dining room where the speakers connect to an iPad. As I turned on the light, the iPad was gone. What the hell was connected to the speakers? I freaked out and instantly called my coworker, and she said she was running late. Of course she was. The music still playing, I ran to the front desk and asked security if he knew what was happening. He chuckled and followed me. The lights were on when I left and off when we arrived. Music still playing. This man says, "Okay, Mr. Roberts, you had your fun. Stop scaring the poor girl." The lights popped on and the music ceased. He explained to me that Mr. Roberts passed 5 years ago and was a jazz musician who happened to love pranking others in the facility. After that day, I only heard the music play a few more times, startled at first, but then feeling somewhat better knowing Mr. Roberts was having fun in the afterlife.
Okay, that's kind of cute.
That is really cute.
I was scared, but...
Scary at first, but it's just Mr. Roberts.
It's fine.
To know who it is, I think, makes it less scary.
Yes, and for it to not be anything crazy other than just lights and music, it's like, okay, I can handle that.
A little prankster. Another story was during the height of the pandemic. Working with elderly people, death becomes a weekly occurrence. It was difficult knowing that people I just fed earlier that day were gone forever. That's so hard.
I couldn't do it.
And my heart goes out to, and I commend all of you who are capable of working in an environment like that, be it nursing homes, long-term care facilities, hospitals, anything like that, where you're kind of working close to death often.
Hospice, that too.
Yeah.
I could never do it. I think it takes a very special person.
One day I worked in the dementia care area and was assigned to hand feed a woman in hospice. Her name was Natalie, and she was previously a French writer whose husband passed away a few years previously. She didn't speak English, but she would understand what we had to do for her. For a few days, I would feed and then keep her company. Although language was a barrier, I still told her stories and kept her company, occasionally reading poems I wrote. Her motor skills were little to none, and I could tell she was soon to join her husband. I wanted her to feel comfortable and to know she isn't alone. I'm about to cry already. My voice is cracking. Sorry. The last morning I spent with her, she kept her eyes closed the entire time. Keeping with tradition, I told her stories and squeezed her hand goodbye. I accidentally left my journal that day on her bed.
Oh no. I don't want to cry.
Later that night, my coworker told me Natalie had passed on. My next shift, I retrieved my journal, and on my break, I decided to write. This time, seeing something strange. A long note written in cursive and in a different language. I assumed it was her writing, surprised at how well she did. I had to ask my roommate to translate, and she began to cry, and my heart sank. Thinking it was a beautiful, sweet message, it was a bit startling too. Quote, "Thank you for being my friend and sharing your words. Your heart is golden and your soul shines bright. I see my husband now, but he is not alone. You also were never alone, dear. The man with the red hat sits beside you. He tells me you are very special. I agree. I wish I could write more, but I'm tired. Take care, Natalie." The man in the red hat was my grandpa who passed away suddenly. He was my best friend and inspired me to be a writer. I have a few other stories I can share if you'd like me to in the future. Isn't that so beautiful?
Oh no. Oh, it's so good.
That one got me. The first time I read it, yeah, I cried.
Why are we doing all the sad ones?
We're not. This is just in order.
It's weird how people
the same days,
yeah,
have similar experiences. It all kind of works out.
They're really good.
That was a really good one. So thank you, Autumn, and thank you for the work that you do.
But I'm not gonna lie. When you said Natalie, I was like,
oh no. I'm assuming it's Natalie. It's spelled differently than yours.
Well,
Nathalie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my name isn't spelled very common, so.
No. Okay. Pull it together. Our next story comes from Bree. Hello, my name is Bree, and I'm a registered dental hygienist from Tucson, Arizona. My friend Paula introduced me to your wonderful podcast, and I've been hooked ever since. I, too, am a tea and spooky lover, so we already have so much in common. I know my profession on its own haunts a lot of people, but I'm not here to write about that. To be honest, it haunts me. The dentist and I go way back. Like actual panic attacks at the dentist. Like
I can't breathe. I freak out.
I cry. Usually, as soon as I lay down, I usually cry once or twice while I'm there getting my teeth cleaned. I
literally feel like I'm going to die. I would rather go to the doctor and have 5 surgeries than go for a teeth cleaning. I hate the dentist.
Mine is from, I have actual, trauma from the dentist.
Anyways, this dental hygienist story.
Ironically, before I was an RDH, I worked for a tea room in college. And let me tell you, it was haunted AF. People never believed me either because it was in this great big pink building, but all the employees knew what really went on there. The building was 2 stories. It had an unbelievable, whimsical, and overly feminine charm. I used to work the front desk. I would ring up clients, answer the phone, help run the gift shop with our buyer, hostess, and bus tables. It was literally the hardest job I ever had in my life, and I have mad respect for anyone in the food industry.
Same.
Dude, same. Working the tea room sounds like a dream, though.
It does.
Hard, but a good time.
Mm-hmm.
The first floor of the building had the kitchen, tea rooms for clients, and our gift shop. The second floor had offices and storage. When children asked what was upstairs, I would tell them a princess lived up there. Most of the time, they would believe me. But really, it was just where our owner had her office and our office manager and buyer worked part-time.
That's cute.
Sometimes you would hear footsteps coming from upstairs. Someone just walking around casually. It would happen early in the morning and sometimes late at night. Always when I was alone in the building or when our kitchen staff was occupied. But the kitchen staff told me they would hear the same thing. We also used to keep really big bags of tea upstairs. Maybe 7 to 10 pounds of tea were in these bags, and they were placed on wire shelves screwed into the wall. One day I went up alone, and all of a sudden a bag came tumbling down right in front of me. It was so strange how it happened. Kind of like how a cat swipes a glass off a table. Intentional. It almost hit my foot. Startled, I thought, oh, maybe the vibration from my weight just toppled it over. I tried to recreate it a few times, but never could. I had also been working there for several years, and I had been all over that office space, and nothing like that had ever happened to me or anyone else before. The kitchen was all the way in the back of the building. One night, I was alone yet again, and I swear I heard every single china plate smash out of nowhere in our kitchen. When I went to look, you guessed it, everything was fine. Another girl who also worked in the front told me the same thing happened to her one night too, while she was alone. Our owner and our chef were petite women with dark short hair. The office space had a magnificent staircase leading up to the second floor. Our owner was super quick and was always acting like she had to put out a fire. So when I saw a woman with short dark hair out of the corner of my eye flying/running down the stairs, I thought it was our owner or our chef. This was typical behavior for our owner. Turning my head towards the female, I asked how they could still be here. I thought they had both left for the day. But when I had a full view of the staircase, there was no one there. Another time, I was alone in the building. I had checked out our last client and was cleaning the building. I always locked the front door because I didn't want any weirdos coming in while I was alone. I was waiting for our owner to get back from the market with next day's fresh food supply. Coming back to the front after I was done mopping, I noticed a petite woman with short dark hair. I was confused. Maybe I didn't lock the door like I remembered. How did she get in? She was crouched looking at a teapot on a very low shelf with her hands outstretched, almost like she was admiring the craftsmanship. I continued to walk towards her. I called out to her, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't hear you come in. Is there something I can help you with?" As I approached, she disappeared right in front of my eyes. I blinked a few times and just went about my night. I was an overtired, stressed out college student dealing with a parent with health issues. I didn't have time to deal with my delusions. We always kept a menu board out front. It was a busy Saturday and I wanted to make sure guests and clients were taken care of. I noticed a woman yet again with short dark hair reading the menu board. Worried they might have questions, I came around from our patio door and asked this woman if I could help and answer any questions or help her find a potential group. But she was gone. She was never there. All three of these encounters I knew were the same woman. But the funny thing was, her face was always blurred. I could never make out any features. She never made me feel afraid. I did work in a beautiful place, and I think she just wanted to enjoy the beauty without other clients around. I'm not sure if it was her intention for me to see her, or if it was just an accident. You thought all I had to say before was creepy? Buckle up. I've got more on this place.
Oh my gosh. Well, so far, it's kind of cute. She said it was like a really girly place and it's just a lady showing up, looking at stuff. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would be more scared if the place wasn't just so picturesque in my mind.
Yeah. In my mind, we're looking at a cute place, so it feels safe.
The gift shop was also haunted. Not just tea bags would fall off the wall. Stationery, cards, and the rare teapot would fall in the gift shop. It would happen when I was alone and when clients were shopping. One day, I had about 3 clients quietly shopping. Out of nowhere, some cards fell off of their shelf. No one was by them. No one had touched them. I laughed it off and jokingly told the confused clients we had a ghost. One of them took me very seriously and said, "Really? Why don't you tell me about it?" I told her everything I've said in this email. She was later joined by a friend that was in the bathroom. The woman I had just disclosed everything to told her friend I thought the building was haunted. That friend said, "Let me check." What the heck? Let me check?
What?
I was panicking at this point. It turned out this woman was a medium and could connect with the spirit world. She closed her eyes and got really quiet. She then said, "Yes, you have 2. I wanted to faint on the spot. I wasn't trying to be serious. She then said one woman was older and her daughter brought her there before she died. She loved it there so much she wanted to stay a while.
Aww.
She also had a favorite teacup, but I never learned which one it was. The other ghost was named Matilda. The medium couldn't really give me any backstory on that. I thought the petite woman I continued to see could be Matilda. This woman also confirmed I was more in touch with the other side. In later years, I was also able to meet with this medium again for a past life regression, but that's a story for a different day. A story we want.
Mm-hmm.
After having my craziness confirmed, I told our owner. She wouldn't believe me. She told me no one died in the building, but I tried to explain to her that we have so many antiques and vintage teapots and teacups, but she was firm. We weren't haunted. However, other employees definitely believed me.
If I was the owner, that's what I would tell myself too.
Would you?
Yeah.
The building is no longer a tea room, but now a hair salon. I'm tempted to visit one day and freak them out and ask if the building is still haunted. But I hope the two ghosts were okay with our owner selling the building. Sometimes I wonder if they're still there. Wherever they went, I hope they're happy and in a beautiful place like the one they haunted before. Thank you for taking the time to read this and possibly share this on the podcast. Please continue with your amazing work you do. Love, Bree.
Okay. I really hope that they're either still there enjoying the hair salon and the gossip and all the fun, but it also makes me sad that the woman loved the tea shop.
Like
they took it.
Maybe she went with her favorite teacup.
I hope so.
Or her teapot.
I really hope so. That kind of made me sad.
And she's chilling with some lady who loves tea.
I hope so.
Me too. So our next story comes from Ava. To set the scene for y'all, I must first start by telling you how I missed my flight to Spain. I was on a class trip for my Spanish class at the very end of May this year and was with 15 classmates and 3 teachers. We kicked off the journey to Spain by getting on a plane in Kansas City and flying to Dallas, Texas for our connecting flight to Barcelona.
Ooh, Texas!
Long story short, we did not make it on the plane in Dallas, thus beginning many problems for me and my classmates. The biggest problem at the time, when are we going to get out of Dallas and on a plane to Spain? The answer to that was about a day and a half later. We were very fortunate to be able to get some hotel rooms near the airport. When my group finally reached our hotel after our nightmarish travel experience that day, we were ready to take a shower and go to bed. The next day was as uneventful as it could be. We tried our best to get around the area of Dallas to get some shopping done because another important problem that had arisen was that we didn't have our checked luggage.
Oh no. I was going to ask about that.
It made it to Spain. Finally, we made it to and from the store back to the hotel to kill some time before dinner. It is now important to note that I was sharing a room with 3 other girls, so it was 2 to a bed. We were all attempting to relax in our room when I heard 3 solid knocks on the door. I went to answer quickly because I had just assumed it was someone in our group. But when I opened the door, no one was there or in the hallway. At the moment, I wrote this off as someone messing with us, but it did unsettle me in an odd way. Fast forward to that night. I slept on the right side of the right bed. I remember not being able to fall asleep quickly that night. I knew we had to be up fairly early, and I also knew that 2 of my friends planned to wake up earlier to go on a quick run. I realized I had fallen asleep when I was woken up to the sudden movement of my friend next to me in bed. Half awake on my back, I stare at the ceiling. It is pitch black in the room. Suddenly, my attention was brought to my friend, sitting straight up in bed. Very abruptly, she suddenly gets all the way out of bed, steps towards the end of bed, and turns around towards me. I am wide awake now because I can see her dark figure just staring at me at the end of my bed. My first thought was she was sleepwalking. She continued to stare at me for maybe 5 minutes, but it felt like hours. Finally, I glanced to my left and saw my friend fast asleep.
Oh my God.
I was immediately filled with indescribable dread. It made my chest heavy. I looked back and could still see the dark figure looming about. When I saw this, I turned as fast as I could away from the figure and hid myself under the covers. I was honestly so scared I thought about calling my teacher in the next room. Eventually, I fell back asleep. I woke up to my friend's alarm for their run, and I immediately recalled my encounter during the night. I sat up and asked my friend if she'd gotten out of bed in the middle of the night, to which she answered, no, she hadn't. I then explained how I felt her sit straight up and get out of bed, but she just stared at me. I was about to provide my thoughts on how it may be some sort of sleep paralysis, even though I've never had an experience with that, when my friend in the other bed said she saw the dark figure standing there too. At that point, we said the Lord's Prayer and knew we needed to get the heck out of Dallas, Texas. No one else on the trip believed us. Later, when I was explaining everything, someone joked that the knock may have been something I let in. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but I know it was something bad. As a religious person, I don't often venture into believing that there are souls that remain on Earth. I do, however, believe without a doubt that there are very evil energies on the earth. I will swear on my life to this day that I saw something in that hotel room, and I know I did, because I wasn't the only one who saw it. That is so scary.
That is sick. That is sick.
She was trying to write it off. She was like, oh, okay, sleep paralysis, even though I've never had it before, but the friend's like, no, I definitely saw it too.
Dude, we gotta stop with the hotel stories. We really do. I'm not gonna survive.
I'm sorry. I hate the idea that the knocks were like asking to come in and she opened the door. She opened the door for it.
Lucky for me, I'm never opening the door ever in a hotel. I don't care.
Is opening the door inviting it in?
Surely not.
Or do you have to explicitly say like, come in?
I don't know. It was really scary that you said come in and then the air clicked off.
That was really weird.
That really kind of sent a chill down my spine. I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Do you have to say
Explicitly?
those words? I'm not going to say them again.
No.
Or is it just opening I don't know.
Is opening the door enough of an invitation?
Maybe for some.
That's fine with me. I don't ever open my door.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, if I'm in the hotel, the doors are locked, the thing's on there, anything I can push against the door is there, fire hazard, don't care. No one's coming in.
Okay. Our next one comes from someone with the nickname Doritos.
Oh, okay.
I like it. Hi, Macy and Natalie. I'm so happy to have found the podcast a week ago, right in time for October. I listen to the pod at work, and it makes me feel like I'm with my sister again chatting away. She moved out 2 states over for medical school. Thank you for entertaining the spooky girlies out here who love the podcast format. Here is a story I wanted to share with you both. Ever since I was young, the story that stuck with me was my mom's experience with the ghost bride from Taiwan. Taiwan, my homeland, is an island predominantly filled with mountains and has many small towns popular for their rural charm. Have you seen pictures of Taiwan?
I'm sure, but
Beautiful.
Not off the top of my head.
Literally just days before I read this email, I was looking at Taiwan.
That's interesting. Or what a coincidence.
I like to explore the world via Google Maps, so.
Yeah.
It was during my mom's early days as a photographer when she decided to visit Jiaofan, the old mountain town, famous for its winding streets and paper lanterns. She was hoping to capture the beauty of the place at night, especially when the crowd of tourists died down. Because it's a mountain town, it gets very dark and eerily still at night. The night my mom decided to venture through Jiaofan, it started to get foggy after dusk. With the little light she had left, she wandered away from the town center and discovered a small shrine at the mountain base. Just as she was about to take a photo, she noticed a woman in a red qipao, traditional Chinese dress, walking along the trees in the distance, with her face hidden beneath a bridal veil. My mom figured it was a bride making her way back to town after taking bridal photos. Her photographer instinct kicked in shortly after spotting the woman, and she wanted to capture the moment. She called out to the woman, asking if she could take her photo, but the woman didn't respond. The woman in red stopped walking, turned slowly, and as the veil lifted slightly, my mom saw her face, pale, hollowed eyes, and unnervingly still. My mom felt the blood drain from her face and the air leaving her body as she realized who it was. Jiaofan's ghost bride, the spirit of a young woman who died tragically on her wedding night and was said to haunt the streets searching for her lost groom. My mom said the bride didn't speak. She just lifted her arm as if she was beckoning my mom to follow her into the fog. My mom said, "Nope, not today," and turned to leave. But in her panic, she hit the camera button a few times. When she got back to her hotel later that night and finally dared to look at the photo, she booked a sooner flight back home after what she saw. In the photo, the ghost bride was standing inches behind my mom, watching her. My heart is racing right now.
Oh, no.
Every time I bring up this story, I still get paranoid and chills. We don't have the memory card anymore, as my mom wiped the card clean and tossed it before she got home. She felt that the ghost bride may have found a place in the card and didn't want to risk bringing it home. I hope this story doesn't scare you both into not visiting Taiwan if you've never been. It's a beautiful island with vibrant cultures and scenery, in the daylight at least. Thanks for allowing me to share my mom's story with you all. Your Ghosties listener, Doritos.
That made me feel so uneasy. I'm feeling real weird. Oh, it's scary.
The thought of it
being right there,
right behind her, inches behind her. What if she didn't immediately run? What if she was like us and just froze?
Dude, I don't know.
Like, part of me was hoping that she's like, and here's the photo, but at the same time, I get it.
I don't want to see it.
I think I might have done the same thing. Was like, nope, toss, goodbye, never looking at this again.
Good choice. I agree.
What if?
I agree. Stomp it, burn it, throw it away.
That's so creepy. But I want to visit Taiwan.
Me too.
It's high on my list.
I just want to go everywhere.
Me too.
See everything.
I have like a top 3 for each continent, and Taiwan, Thailand, and Japan are my top 3 in Asia.
I would love to go to Japan, see cherry blossom trees.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that's like my favorite flower. Well, I think tulips are my favorite flower, not to copy you, but I think they've become
you
my
copycat.
I know.
I'm just kidding.
I think they've become my favorite flower.
Hold on. Tulips are your favorite flower. Pink is your favorite color. This has been me.
I'm
You're turning into
you.
me.
Yes. No,
you're just finally getting really good taste.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you, Doritos. That was oh my gosh, a great story. Our next story is from Katie. Hi girls, my name is Katie. I love the pod and wanted to send you some of the spooky things that have happened to me over the years. I will warn you that a lot of these stories could be debunked / rationalized, but in the moment when they happen, they freak me out. I've titled the stories since this will be a long email. The first one, voices. In one of the podcast episodes I listened to recently, Natalie talked about how she thought she would hear her name being whispered when she was young. This would happen to me too. I attributed it to my vivid imagination and overactive mind at the time. but I had forgotten about it until I listened to the pod. I had never heard anyone else talk about it. In particular, one night I remember I was trying to sleep and I was hearing my name whispered multiple times, overlapping each other. Multiple voices were chanting and whispering.
Oh my God.
I sat up in my bed and looked around but saw nothing. I literally covered my ears as I started to freak out, but the voices continued. I don't remember when they stopped or what I did after, but I assume I just tried my best to fall asleep.
Okay, it was nothing like that.
That takes your story to outer space.
Yeah, nothing like that. I'd be playing like Bratz Rock Angels on the GameCube and I'd hear Natalie, and that's it.
Multiple voices chanting your name over and over again while you're trying to sleep. The next story, titled The Mannequin. For a school field trip in 3rd grade, we visited a historic park in my town. This park is known for being a place where some of the first pioneer settlers settled in my county. The park has museums and has maintained very old structures. None of the originals, I believe, but very old replicas. Some I remember are an old train car, a building dedicated to the kinds of guns and weapons pioneers used, and a building dedicated to the lives of the Native Americans that lived there. I was coming up to an old house with my group. We read that the house and family that lived there in the pioneer days had perished in a house fire. We were not able to go inside. That's important. There was no door, no access to get inside, at least that I could see. Inside were dining sets and a kitchen table on one side, and another side with a woman mannequin, a baby doll, and other toys and knickknacks. I was on the kitchen side and was motioned over to look at the toy side. The kids were saying that they saw the baby blink. I was skeptical, but watched the baby intently. I don't know if I imagined it, but I thought I saw some movement, possibly a blink. It was so quick that I don't know if my mind was playing tricks on me. I went around to the back of the house to catch up with my group. This took about 30 seconds. When I made it around to the other side, the mama mannequin was fully turned around and watching me out the window that had been behind her. It had been facing me on the other side and had somehow turned its whole body around. It was definitely eerie and has stuck with me to this day. There was no way anybody could have been in that house.
I'm already not a fan of mannequins, so this was a bad story from the start.
Same. After that, we saw a museum about the farm work tools the pioneers used. There were picture frames all along the walls, and several of the frames moved from a portrait position to a diagonal position. I heard the frames on the walls, and by the time I looked, the frames had tilted. By then, I felt like I was going crazy. P.S. When I knew I was planning to write to the pod, I looked into the history of this park. Apparently, there are rumors of a coven/occult/cult in my town, and that's where their meetings take place.
Interesting.
Thanks for reading. If you made it this far, I have another story with pictures coming soon. Love y'all and love the pod, Katie.
Ooh, can't wait. But yeah, I'm uneasy.
Our next story comes from Lara. The subject was, I live in a flat that is above a cemetery.
Oh no.
Hi girls, my name is Lara and I listen to you from Spain. I love to listen to American haunted stories, but I think you need some spicy European ones. As I said, my parents' flat is above a Roman cemetery. We call it the necropolis. So my city's name is Tarragona. It was one of the Roman capitals. They called it Taraco. So it's an ancient city built by the Romans 2,000 years ago. As kids, we could play in the amphitheater where gladiators once fought for their lives. And yes, I love hearing about hauntings in America, but you have to know the Europeans live in an ancient land with a lot of stories. So going back to my story, there's the necropolis. It's a cemetery that you can visit, but only part of it. The rest of it is above us. It was a massive one, maybe a few kilometers. Father has told me that in the building in front of us, there was a flat in which very strange things happened. Once the police were there and they tried to enter a room that was supposedly empty, but there are police reports that explain that there was a person with superhuman strength trying to prevent anyone from entering there. And when they were able to enter the room, it really was empty. In this flat, they even performed an exorcism to make this presence go away. Sometime after my father told me this, a friend lived in that building for a while, and we once went to visit her. And I swear that I had never felt so insecure and with so much confusion in one place.
Oh my God.
I didn't visit her again until she moved to another apartment.
I wouldn't either.
Just to know, just to have that feeling, you know?
Yeah. I would not be visiting.
And now the paranormal things I've seen in my house. I have to tell you that since I was little, I have been fascinated by the paranormal. But sometimes when strange things happen to me, I told myself, no, this is not true. At 15, one night at maybe 5 a.m., when I came back from a party, I didn't drink or anything, and went to tell my parents that I was back, I saw a girl in a white nightgown at the foot of my parents' bed. I ran to my room and didn't sleep all night, because then I was so scared that I even thought that I was seeing the nightgown flying down the hallway. And sometimes I still think about it when I'm lying in bed at night.
I would think about it constantly.
I will think about it constantly. I told my parents the next morning, and it scared me so much that I decided not to believe any more paranormal things that would happen to me. This was when my father told me about the building in front of us and the cemetery. The last thing I remember happened to me last year at night. It must have been 1 a.m. while I was listening to quiet music getting ready to go to bed. I turned off all the lights and I remembered that I had to get something from the living room, so I went there. And when I turned on the light, I saw a black shadow of a person. I think the black shadow was not expecting me and it kind of disappeared very quickly. I was paralyzed, saying to myself, okay, this is not real, but I know what I saw. In the morning, my mother told me maybe it was a Roman, and for sure, I didn't feel afraid, just that whatever it wasn't expecting me to come into the living room, and I caught it completely off guard. This email is getting too long. If you want another, I'll tell you how my ex-boyfriend brought me a spirit to my apartment in Barcelona, because now I live here. And girls, to add more spice to my flat in Barcelona, you should know that someone died in my room. But this story is for another time. Thank you for this podcast. I listen to you when I'm working or in the subway. Love, Lara.
You guys always do that to us.
I know.
It's every story.
By the way, here's this horrifying thing, but I'll tell you later.
Oh my God. Okay, well, please do. I am like this person. I would tell myself,
nah, it didn't happen.
No.
I don't like, but I find it interesting that it maybe was like the ghost of an old Roman that was like, whoa, who are you? What are you doing? And that like maybe timelines like we talk about.
It's more comforting to me to think it didn't want to be seen and it was just kind of like, oh,
Caught
shoot, sorry. Than it being like, see me, come closer. I
like the girl in the nightgown.
Yes, I would rather just be like, ah, and then we both scream and disappear. I would like that better.
I'm sorry, I'm about to scare you. The thought of being asleep and not knowing, you never know that there's a spirit standing at the end of your bed watching you sleep.
Shut your mouth.
That just scares me because the parents would never know if Lara hadn't seen it.
I hate that a lot.
That freaks me
And
out.
I wish you wouldn't have said that.
I'm sorry. So please send in your other stories. I'd love to hear them. Our next one comes from Emma. Hi guys, I've recently discovered your podcast and I immediately fell in love with it. You guys are doing an amazing job. I only have one story, but honestly, once was enough for me and I hope I never experience anything else. It happened in February 2018 at about 5:36 p.m. and I was 20 years old. The worst part about my parents' house is that my bedroom is at the end of a creepy, dark hallway. And at the time, I was alone. My parents were at work and my older sister had already moved out. The doors were both closed and all of our windows had mosquito screens, which were built in with the windows. So you couldn't remove them by hand or without making any noise. I was in my bedroom, reading some boring crap for university and listening to music. I had to use the bathroom, which was on the other side of the creepy hallway. The lights were on in the hallway and my sister's bedroom door was wide open. I opened it earlier that day when I cleaned up the house. As I was walking to the bathroom, I casually looked into my sister's bedroom and my heart did a backflip when I thought I saw someone standing there. At first, I refused to believe it was real, and I tried to step forward and backward to make sure it wasn't an illusion caused by the light from the hallway. But it was still there, completely still and quiet. The more I looked at it, the more I realized that I could see facial features like the forehead, nose, and chin. It was wearing a dark gray, black hat, which looked a lot like a bowler hat, a long black coat, and dark brown pants. I could even see the left hand because it was standing there facing my sister's closet. Again, it never made a noise, never moved an inch. And the weirdest part is that it looked like it was surrounded by some sort of aura or something. And as I kept moving back and forth, I noticed that I couldn't see it from a different angle. When you look at something or someone and you move a bit, you see them differently because of the angle. Well, that didn't happen for me. It was like I was looking at it and somehow it kept turning to match my position in such a manner that I never noticed the movement. I'm not sure how long I stood there, but all of a sudden I felt really scared and paranoid. So I panicked and I ran into the bathroom. The bathroom light switch was in the damn hallway and I forgot to turn it on because I was too scared and I didn't take my phone with me since I thought it would take me 3 to 4 minutes to get back into my bedroom. So there I was, hyperventilating in the bathroom, trying to whistle for my German Shepherd, but I was so scared I couldn't even whistle. I just stood there quietly, listening for any sounds. After a while, I managed to calm down and I decided to get out of there. I grabbed some cleaning product that was a bit heavier. I really thought I would beat that thing with a bottle of cleaning product, and I opened the door. To my surprise, it wasn't waiting for me in the hallway, so I grew a pair and looked into my sister's room. Nothing. I turned on every light in the entire house and dragged my dog with me to check every inch. My dog was very calm in my sister's bedroom, and he happily jumped on her bed when I tried to get him to check the room. The doors were still closed from the inside, and so were the windows. Whenever I think about it, I always get the chills down my spine when I remember how freaking terrified I was to look behind the couches and underneath the beds. I have no idea what that was. I read some things on the internet about the Hat Man and some other entities, but I really don't think it was the Hat Man. I hope the story gets to you guys. Thank you for the great videos and keep up the good work. Home alone, running through the hallway, then jumping into a dark bathroom and can't even turn on the light because you have to leave the bathroom to turn the light on.
I couldn't.
I like that they grabbed a bottle of cleaner and were like, gonna
just bleach it to death.
Yes.
Yeah, that would probably be mine. No, you know what? I would just sleep in the bathroom. I would have curled up in the tub,
all alone,
grabbed all the towels I could, made a little bed, and waited for the sun to rise. 100% I would have. There's
So
like,
creepy.
I would never open the door. I'd be like, dog, come here. And then the dog would come in the bathroom with me, and I'd lock the door, and we
You'd
would
have
just
to
be
open
cuddled
the
up.
door to get the dog.
Well, if I heard, well, never mind. I don't know what, I would just sleep in the tub.
Okay.
I'd
In the
sleep
dark,
tub.
though, light off. I couldn't stay in the bathroom for too long with the light off.
There's no way I could open the door.
Could you have checked every crevice,
Nope.
every closet and under the beds and stuff?
Nope. I would have locked myself into a room that I knew was safe and barricaded it with the dog.
Ugh, so creepy.
There's no way.
So our next one comes from Yolanda. Hi guys, I recently stumbled across y'all's podcast and I'm obsessed. Currently listening to a Listener Stories episode from a day ago, and yes, 100% would wear a Ghost Tim shirt. I should have worn mine today.
Dang.
We do have them. Anyways, I've never sent my stories in. However, I need a break from human anatomy, so here I am. I can't say things happen to me often, but they happen enough for me to know when to nope the nope out. I grew up listening to scary stories from my tia during cousin sleepovers. I was the chicken who wouldn't sit on the ground because I was terrified the burnt man from her stories would reach out from under the couch and yank my 5-year-old self to lint hell with the dust bunny overlords. It's funny saying it now because I love horror, but then it was no joking matter, okay?
Agreed. Me too.
I would say my first actual experience happened in the townhouse we lived in as a kid. I am terrified of the dark. But that night I had to use the bathroom so bad I ended up braving the darkness to go. When I finished, I laid back in bed, facing the wall because I didn't want to see anything, and tried to fall back asleep. However, before I could, I felt the presence of someone sitting on the foot of my bed. I froze because I knew it wasn't anyone. My family is loud and would have said something, and at that point, we hadn't gotten our dog. I'm not sure why, but I began kicking the hell out of that corner of the bed because no, you cannot sit with me. And of course, nothing was there. I don't remember falling asleep that night. However, when I woke up, I went crying to my family. Mama is not a believer, but my dad is. He's a, quote, we don't talk about that believer. I only recently heard some of his stories, and boy, I do not want to be him. A few years later, same place. However, now we have a dog. His name was Baxter, and he was the absolute worst guard dog possible. I shared a room with my sister, and he preferred to sleep in her bed at the foot, probably because he sensed the taintedness from whatever popping a squat on my bed. One night, we were watching TV in our beds, and we all heard a growl come from the foot of my sister's bed. I assumed it was Baxter. However, that little Chewini bolted to where my sister was sitting, whimpering the whole time. It took us forever to calm down. The next morning, we were woken up because my parents found scratching on the bathroom cabinet. They blamed us and wouldn't listen when we explained what happened last night. It was 3 scratches, and we aren't going to go into that.
No, please don't. Also, love that it was a Chewini. I don't know why I was expecting a German Shepherd. Don't know why. Maybe
Probably
from the
'cause
last story.
Yeah.
Chewini, love.
We moved a few years later, and though I feel I never had experiences at that house, there was one night this summer after my senior year that had me terrified beyond belief. My parents both worked nights, and neither would be home until at least after 2 or 3 in the morning. I had just gotten home from closing at Hastings and jumped in the shower. Side note, loved Hastings. Miss them.
The bookstore?
Yeah, and like rentals and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Mid-shower, shampoo in my hair and all, I heard the front door open. Mind you, this house was old, and every door sang a different tone when opened. I paused because I knew I took long showers, but surely it wasn't already that late. The water was still hot. I turned the shower off and proceeded to be the typical horror movie character, towel and all, walking through the house, seeing if anyone was home. I stopped by the kitchen for a knife first because aesthetics, I guess. Definitely, probably, most likely wouldn't have used it. Nobody was in the house. I freaked, locked myself in my room, and called my dad. He was a police officer then, and when he showed up, so did almost all the others. Thankfully, I had gotten dressed by this point. I can't recall how many arrived, but there were multiple from our local PD, sheriffs, and state police. They searched the house, garage, and abandoned property and barn next door. Nothing. My sister and her boyfriend stayed the night that night, and we all slept in the living room. I don't know which would have been scarier, if it was paranormal or someone breaking in. But if someone was breaking in, why did they leave without taking anything, and why were my dogs so calm? I still question it to this day, 14 years later.
That's horrifying. This just reminded me of something because I would be so embarrassed if all the cops showed up and there was nothing, which I mean, I'm glad there was nothing, but I would be so embarrassed. I am an overreactor. There was this one time that I was home alone And our grandparents lived right
next
across.
door. Yeah.
I was at home just by myself, and I didn't know an air conditioner like repairman was supposed to be stopping by.
Oh, that's scary.
I'm watching SVU, as I do.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
Of
eating
course.
my Funyuns, drinking my Red Diamond tea.
Of course.
Knock on the door.
And this isn't a neighborhood, guys.
No.
This is deep in the woods.
No.
Like several miles down a dirt road, several more miles down another dirt road, and then a long way
Up a driveway.
up a path. Yeah.
You don't just stumble across the house. You come up there with a purpose.
Through a no trespassing gate, everything.
Yes. This man's knocking on the door. I'm like, I freeze, as I do.
Yes.
I'm looking through the peephole, and I swear, because I tiptoed over there. I didn't want him to know. I swear he looked directly at me, and I was like, I literally started having a freaking panic attack.
I would have too.
I called our grandpa, and I was like, there's a man on the porch. He came out with his underwear, like his boxers, his long socks, and his boots. He came running out there.
Aww.
And it was just the air conditioner repairman.
Poor guy.
But hey, he would ride for me. So, but it was embarrassing that I made him run out there.
Half naked.
Yeah. To just be like,
just had time to pull his boots on.
Okay, you're repairing the air conditioner. But yeah, and that's how I handle situations. I can't.
No, I feel you.
So I would be
Could you imagine walking around in a towel, with a kitchen knife? Who's there?
No,
that
because
is I would harken back to every horror movie ever. And just
at that point, you're setting yourself up. It's like there was already a scary thing, but now you're going to make it the whole movie trope.
Okay, moving on. The current house I live in is with my mom. When we first moved in, my dad felt someone tugging on the back of his shirt. He said, like a little kid does. Though I'm not sure if it was a little kid now. A lot has happened here, and it hasn't been just to me. When my sister was pregnant, she stayed in the guest room and would have horrible nightmares about the D words. In them, she would hear their names. She has since given up paranormal and horror, and I can't say I blame her. No, me
neither. That's so scary.
My dad would see shadow figures all over the property. Our garage is detached, and he said he would see someone pacing by the door. But when he went to investigate, there was no one there, and the garage was locked up. There was one morning right after we first moved in when it was just my dad and I home, and I was woken up to a, "Hey, what are you doing?" But it wasn't a man's voice. When I opened my eyes, no one was in my room. I went out and asked my dad about it, but he said Mama was gone, and he was in the living room on the opposite side of the house. I've had something sit on my bed here as well, but now I have cats and can always just blame them for peace of mind. I've also had a few different guys I've dated stay over. One left halfway through the night, and the other woke me up with an argument. Both claimed something was pulling on their feet, and the latter was accusing me.
Oh my God.
My nephew, who is now 8, sees and hears things all the time, as does my sister. She often has heard a child calling for their mom. Nowadays, if she's awake past a certain time, she will wear her headphones and listen to something to avoid hearing anything.
Smart. Me too.
Shortly after my dad moved out, he opened up about the experiences he had in the house. He thinks there's something here that messes with men in the house. He had things sit on his chest while he slept, smack him, and whisper in his ears when he was falling asleep. I used to wonder why he always slept with the TV so loud, but now I know. He told me a story from when he was a very young kid that still terrifies me today. Shortly after he and his family immigrated to the USA, they moved into what he called low-income apartments. One night, my abuelo and abuelita got into an argument, and my abuelo had to sleep on the couch. My dad, being the only son, decided he would stand in solidarity with his dad and sleep on the other couch, which was a love seat. He said he remembers his feet would have hung over the armrest if he hadn't pulled them in. He said he remembers hearing someone with heavy boots walking and stopped at the end of the couch where his feet would have been hanging over. And all he saw were horns like those you see on a goat. He said ever since then, he's had plenty of paranormal experiences and doesn't like to talk about them where, quote, they can hear.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry this is long and would love to tell y'all some of the other stories from him and also my current job, but I've creeped myself out and it's currently 2 a.m. Thank y'all for being awesome, Yolanda. P.S. Don't worry, I didn't end up staying with either of the guys that stayed over.
Rightfully so.
Good.
It seems like the right choice. By the way, goats scare me.
Just goats in general? Like real goats?
Bad. Yeah.
Or like demon goats?
Goats.
Okay.
Just the real animal that's here.
I want goats.
Okay. The little ones, yes. The big ones where you see their eyes. I went to safari type thing the other day and there was little deer and cow things and horses. The second the big goats got there,
Terrifying.
I got like a panicked feeling. I don't know why. I found this out about myself recently. Like, this is very new.
That you have a fear of goats? Just add it to the list.
I didn't know. But their eyes,
they're a little, like, kind of dead.
Yeah, it's very scary to me. Also, have you seen the movie?
Goats.
Have you seen the movie The Witch?
Yes, I watched it in theaters, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. You know, like the goat in there?
Yeah, like a little scary, I guess.
Just recently discovered that about myself, if anybody wanted to know.
I did. Thank you. Well, thank you to Yolanda and to everyone else who sent in their stories. We're making our way. We are still in September.
Jesus.
I know.
That's when we got a big boom. I don't know if YouTube like pushed us out like crazy, but
yeah.
How are we still?
It was like we were getting like 20 plus emails a day.
This is nuts.
So we're still in September. I think we'll make it to October by June.
Dude, we're going to have like 6 or 7 years of listener stories. If we ever run out of topics, we can just become a listener stories pod.
Yeah, that's fine.
Honestly. Well, maybe we'll do another listener stories month.
We have to at some point. And if you have a listener story you'd like to send in to us, because I promise we will get to you. Also, we're jumping around. So we've got, coming up in April, we have 2 themed listener stories.
Exciting.
Get ready for that. So we will jump around. We will pick randomly from here, like here and there. So if you'd like to send in your story, you can email it to us at ghosteaspod@gmail.com. It's written in the description down below. If you like this video, please like it and share it with your friends if you feel compelled to do so.
And if you made it this far, leave a dog emoji.
Oh, I was going to say goat.
No. Leave a dog emoji for Lappy.
For Lappy and the German Shepherd and the Chiweenie.
Oh
Lots
my
of
God.
dogs. Lots of dogs. I like it.
Heck yeah. As you said that, my dog is sticking its nose under there.
Oh, okay. We got to go.
Yes, we do. Goodbye.